Hello everyone, welcome to this trade breakdown on EU. In this breakdown, I'm going to take you through this trade that I took yesterday on Thursday, and I'll go over the thought process, the rationale, the reasoning, the narrative, and the full market context behind it, which led me to taking this trade. And by the end of it, you'll know exactly how it all came together. Now, if you've watched my daily outlook that I uploaded on Wednesday, then you'd already know that my directional buys for the rest of the week was clearly bullish. Now that was obvious to me from the way how the higher time frame was behaving, and I've already explained that in the weekly outlook. So if you don't know, you should watch that. And because of that, heading into Thursday, I was only interested in looking for longs, and that was my initial plan, right? Now you can see that I had already the directional bias. So my job on Thursday was simple, right? I was waiting for the market to give me a proper context, right? Obviously, I needed a valid framework to build a trade idea. I wasn't just going to jump in blindly just because I had a bullish directional bias. So what I did is that I took this 4 hour fair value gap as my key level, right? I annotated it, and my expectation for price was to come down lower, test this fair value gap at a key time, and from there I wanted to see an order block confirmation entry. Let me do this so you can see it more clearly. So going into the first half of the day, right, my original expectation or anticipation for price was to come down lower, test this 4 hour fair value gap within this 4 hour order block, and from there I wanted to see an expansion higher, right? So my thought was that I was going to look for an order block confirmation entry from here. That was the original setup, right? Simple and clean. But while I was waiting for that scenario to play out, something changed in real time. What happened is that we had a divergence. Actually, we had two of them, one with DXY and another one with GU. On DXY, what happened is that, let me show you. DXY filled this fair value gap, this 4 hour corresponding fair value gap, whereas EU failed to do so. Right? EU failed to test this corresponding fair value gap, which led to this divergence between these two assets. And because of this divergence, I changed my initial thought process, right? I changed my initial expectation, and I decided that now I'm going to take an entry straight away without looking for price to retrace back deeper into this 4 hour fair value gap, because we had this divergence, right? I thought that price might just expand from where it is, and price might have an immediate expansion from here without completing this retracement profile. Now at the same time, we had another divergence with GU. If you look at this price section right here, what you would see is that GU took out this low right here, whereas EU failed to do so, which meant that again we have non-symmetry between these two correlated assets and consequently a divergence between the two. And because of these two major SMT divergences, I changed my initial expectation, changed my initial anticipation for EU, and I concluded that we could have a potential immediate expansion from here. And right at that point, I started looking for an order block confirmation entry on the lower time frame. Looking at this 15-minute time frame right here, what you can see is that the SMT with DXY formed right at the open of the London Open session. And once we had this expansion higher during the London Open kill zone or the London Open session, I concluded that maybe we've already formed the low of the day with this candle right here after we had this SMT divergence with DXY and the other one with GU. And I thought that maybe, and I concluded that maybe we could have an immediate expansion higher off of here. And in that particular scenario, I considered this move right here as my manipulation profile below the ancient range, which meant that now we also have the normal protraction profile. And even though we didn't test the 4 hour fair value gap at this point in time, because of these two major SMT divergences, I had enough and I had enough strong conviction and confidence in this trade idea right here, and that led me to taking a trade on the 15-minute time frame. But obviously, you know that before I could enter a trade, I need a lower time frame order block confirmation entry to set up. And in this particular scenario, you can see that we have, first of all, this single candle and these two consecutive candles that purged below this Asian range low. And in this case right here, I wanted price to engulf these candles in the form of closing above it. And once price closed above these two consecutive candles right here, I decided to take an entry here. I entered right here. After this order block was formed, formed, I entered right here, executed the trade with my stop loss below the order block, and I targeted a 3-hour trade. Now you know that that trade didn't work out because price eventually came down lower and got me out. But here's the thing, it was a completely valid loss, right? It was a high probability setup that aligned with my system, that aligned with my model and met all the criteria I look for in a trade. And that's what matters to me. Right? I know that I don't need to be right every time. I just need to be consistent in following my plan. And that's what I did on Thursday. And that's all that matters to me. So even though I had a loss, that was still a winning day for me. If you look at the fact that I consistently stuck to my plan with discipline. And if I see that setup again 100 times, I'll take it 100 times because that's how trading works for me. And just like I've said before, my edge is in sticking to my framework over and over again because I know that that's where profitability comes from and that's where consistency is built, right? So for the week, I ended up taking just 2 trades. The first one was on Tuesday. That was a clean 3-hour win. And the second one is this structured loss right here. Now the outlines for both of these trades were shared in advance inside the group. And a lot of you even caught these setups with me, which is great to see. And just like that, I ended the week with 2-hour profits, right? I ended the week in profits. Now regarding my outlook for today, today's Friday, it's also a bank holiday, and you can see that price is just ranging, right? There's nothing clean to work with. There's no clear context to build a setup from, and because of that, I'm staying risk off. I'm not taking any trades, right? I'm not touching it.